Hello, everyone's Forest Focus. Nottingham Forest are fifth in the Premier League as we head into the latest international break after Sunday's 3-1 defeat to Newcastle United. Was it a reality check for the Reds, the manager and player of the month curse, or just a blip on the road to a brilliant season? Joining to discuss all that and a little more, first of all, is Michael Temple. Temps, good afternoon where we are. Good morning where you are. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. 7 a.m. on the east coast of America. And yeah, Forest ruined my day yesterday.
Yeah, ruined everyone's day, but we'll get into that. Mikey Clarke, Christmas jumper number 2. How are you?
Yeah, keeping the spirits up. I'm good, thanks, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. My son did not enjoy the game. My son enjoyed everything bar the football, which isn't ideal, but he enjoyed the bits all around it, certainly. Former Reds defender Kelvin Wilson, afternoon, how you doing?
Yeah, all good, Matt. Thanks, all good.
Good to have you with us as ever. Kick us off, Kelv. What did you make of it, just in general, and then we'll break into some specifics?
It was different to what we used to this season. Felt a little bit back to the previous seasons. I thought it was a little bit like a basketball game at some point, some points of the game, especially when we was losing. Can't really chase the game at 2-1 because you're always in it still, but I just felt like it was a bit wide open at times. Thought we started okay, but yeah, it was I think the expectation with Forest now, especially from myself, I can only speak on behalf of myself, and I think many fans as well. They've set a standard now which is really high, and that's the hardest thing in football is to meet that standard every week. You know, that's why the best players are the best players and the best teams are the best teams, because they're so in routine with what they need to do every week. But obviously, Forest, this is a different season. You know, this is something that we're not used to since being back in the Premier League. So I think it was a bit of a reality check for us.
Yeah, I suppose, Temps, was it I wasn't surprised we lost the game going into it because they're a good side. We could have done. Was the surprise that, you know, it was a pretty one-sided game ultimately overall? Newcastle were well deserving of it, weren't they?
Yeah, I haven't spoken to anyone that begrudged Newcastle the win. I think they were better than us in all departments, and it was a bit of a lesson in the level. Some of our key players couldn't get going. Morgan Gibbs-White struggled to get into the game. Chris Wood was starved of service, and we weren't quite as efficient in possession as we have been. And that's our style. We knew we were going to concede the ball to Newcastle. What we've done in previous games is turned limited possession into fast transition, into fruitful counter-attacks, and found a way to win. And even the first half performance, the goal was a little bit against the head, but after the break, Newcastle just motored away, and there was a gulf between us and them. But yeah, I don't think we should frame it as disappointment, because we've been punching, haven't we, for a few weeks. The results have been deserved, but there was no way we were going to maintain that form. And sadly, I do foresee a bit of a check in the results we'll obtain over this next run of fixtures, which is particularly tough. But yesterday, credit to Newcastle, they were better than us, and we just have to turn that into a bit of a lesson and redress some of the things, some of the departments in which we were lacking, and find a way. But yeah, I was particularly disappointed in Morgan Gibbs-White yesterday. He just looked a little bit off the pace. I thought he was a bit wasteful in possession, which isn't like him. And using him in the manner in which we do, and the reliance we have on him, he's entitled to a bad day at the office, but his was yesterday. And yeah, unfortunately, that was one of the factors that contributed to the result. But credit to Newcastle, very impressed, and they looked like a pretty complete side yesterday.
Where did it go wrong for you then, Mikey? I'll ask Cal this as well, obviously, but I wrote down a few notes. I mean, I thought, you know, we lost midfield. We weren't good on the ball. We didn't get the ball to Chris Wood. There were quite a lot of things that went wrong. What would you pick out?
Yeah, other than all those things, it was fine. No, I concur with what the guys are saying. It was, you know, there were too many players that were getting a 5 and 6 out of 10. And to beat a team like Newcastle, you've got to have the vast majority, if not all of your players, really punching 8s, 9s, 10s, because they are a fantastic unit. I thought they were great yesterday. I'm going to concur with Temps. They're the best team I've seen this season, and I include Liverpool in that. I thought they were excellent. I thought second half they stepped it up 10, 15%, and we couldn't really live with them. I think in terms of what we take away from that is you know, you're not going to go from, I don't think you're going to go from a team that has been fighting relegation for 2 years to pushing for Champions League or Europe within the space of 5 minutes. So there is a balancing that will happen. I kind of agree with Temps. The next few fixtures look tough. And I think we'll end up where we deserve to end up, which I think is about mid-table. And I think most people will say that's a good return for us. But I think going back to yesterday, it was tough. I'm not sure what that second half was about. It wasn't really as we looked flat. Like I said, too many players were off the pace. We looked stretched. Kelvin made a really good point about when it went to 2-1. We did seem like we were chasing the game big time, and there was no need to. I think going back to your actual question, Matt, I think we lost the game in midfield. I think at half time, I didn't go to the game because I was working, but I watched it on TV. And at half time, I text people at the game saying, do you know what? If it was me, I'd absolutely bring on another central midfielder, because we were losing the battle in those central areas. They had the tight three, and then they had Joe Linton that was coming from the left inside to make it a 4. And Isak was dropping off from our back 4 to make it a 5 at times. And we just couldn't get the ball, and we could not sustain any period of pressure. And when they stepped up their game, we found it increasingly difficult in the second half. So I would have loved to have seen a Ward-Prowse on, or even an Anderson on earlier, and maybe sacrifice one of the wingers or even Morgan and try and just combat them in those central areas, because our only chance of scoring was a real quick transition. And to be honest, I think the 3-1 kind of flattered us. If you look at the chances they missed, they were just in control throughout the game. And I thought tactically we got it a little bit wrong. And I just thought we just weren't us. Didn't feel like us, that performance. It was too, I don't know, too sporadic, I guess, in its nature. But one thing I will say is we're still having a fantastic season. If you would have said to me, do you know what, you're 5th going into this international break, I would have bit your hand off. So it's a blip. It was a bad day at the office. Tough games coming up, but we know what we're about. We know what we can do. So let's not panic, and let's just come out this international break flying, because there are a couple of teams at home I think we can beat. So just a bad day, Matt.
Yeah, I think the reality check for me, which Kel mentioned, was when you look like Isak and Guimaraes, they were probably a level above on the day, and our players were looking for Morgan to be that player, and he wasn't at it, and we couldn't get the ball to Wood, like I say. So that's probably the reality check for me. What do you think about what Mikey says there, Kelvin? So in terms of getting an extra man in midfield to try and match them up, should we have done that? Could we have pulled a winger inside like we did at Leicester second half, that kind of thing? What did you think about it tactically? Because quite a few people have said that after the game on Twitter, I saw.
Yeah, I don't know what Nuno's thinking was, but if I'm looking from the outside, I think he's looked at his players, he's looked at the run they're on, full of confidence, playing at home. He's probably thought, you know what, stick with what we've been doing. We're at home, lads are confident, and he's relied on that a little bit, I think. Which I think, if I'm going to be honest, I probably would have as a manager. Being an ex-player and knowing what confidence does for players, and when you're on that run, you think anything's possible. So I can understand why it's set up like that. But when you get to half time and things, yeah, I totally agree. Was Newcastle's strongest position is midfield. Not just against Nottingham Forest, against anyone. Their best players are in midfield. So I think that, yeah, bringing an extra midfielder on would have made sense. Would have definitely made sense. I don't think, he would have got questioned for that. Why he didn't, still, again, is he thinking, we wanted up at half time and we've got confidence running through the players. Can we hang on to it? Can we nick another goal? I don't know, but will it look negative bringing on an older midfielder or another midfielder? I don't know what his thinking was, but I totally agree. We was overrunning midfield. Their best player is Bruno. I think someone should have been closer around him, stop him from playing. You tick through him. I agree with Temps. Morgan Gibbs-White, he was miles off it. I say every time I come on here, I'm a massive fan of him, but he was miles off it. And I think if he doesn't create anything in the 2 wide players, we pretty much struggle to create much. And I think that showed massively yesterday. Gibbs-White isn't on it. We don't, and the 2 wingers, sorry, we don't look likely to create much. And Chris Wood, yeah, again, he was isolated. He didn't have much to feed off, to be fair to him. But yeah, I'm not going to say that Nuno got his tactics wrong, because he's been brilliant so far this season, making subs at the right times. But I understand why he went with the team he went with. You know, when you've got confidence in players and your players are confident, you know, you don't see much stopping you, no matter who you're playing against. But I think that he had a great opportunity to maybe change things around at half time.
Yeah, I think so. I've got no complaints about the starting 11. I'd be a massive hypocrite if I did, because I said we should play the same 11. But I think as well, it demonstrated Temps maybe a little bit like the attack does still run through Morgan when he's on the pitch. And if he's not playing well, and Hudson-Odoi as well, he didn't play well, it limits us so much offensively, because we haven't got an Isak type forward, have we? He can drop deep and create something and make goals for himself. So our attack is reliant probably on those players, and if they're not at it, then we do struggle.
Precisely, as the boy said, it wasn't to do with tactics or team selection; it was to do with execution. If Morgan Gibbs-White gets the ball 12 times and a half, you need to do something with it 9 and 10. Be that the kind of ranging pass that only he can make, be it beating a player and breaking the field, getting a shot off himself, just couldn't do it. Just that they nullified us pretty effectively. If you watch the Newcastle press and the manner in which they committed several players forward to counter press us and to swamp us in our own third to stop us getting out in the first place, the manner in which they recovered possession was quite impressive, actually, and shows what a team needs to be to get to that next gear. They just nullified us. They didn't come out like an away team. They came out determined to be to oppress the manner in which we've been able to get on the front foot in the past few weeks. And it was good to watch Newcastle without the ball, and because of that, they weren't without the ball for long. They put us just under ridiculous amounts of pressure in challenging areas of the pitch, absolutely suffocated us at times. And we had, I saw it yesterday. There's times now where we don't resort to lumping the ball to Chris Wood or a ball in behind a channel ball, any clearing by any means. We try to pass out from the back, and that in recent weeks has meant intricate passes on the edge of our own area, which has resulted in launching counterattacks. They didn't drop off. They were so effective at that press. We struggled even finding that first pass into midfield to a Yates, to a Dominguez, to a Gibbs-White in space. There was just so much pressure on our players. In the second half, when we were chasing the game a bit, we did resort to lumping it, and no one was there. And Newcastle mopped up and have big centre halves like Dan Burn, who were very comfortable on the ball and just brought it back wave after wave after wave after wave. So we couldn't get a foothold, let alone kind of explore what might happen in the final third. So yeah, disappointing. But again, I'll credit Newcastle. I think tactically they stopped us playing. Allied to that, our ballers didn't get enough ball and didn't do enough with it when they had. So yeah, two reasons for the performance. We were slightly off the boil, but Newcastle were hot. And I'll repeat what I said at the top. Just got to respect that. Give them a clap and move on.
Just a couple more questions before we get into match specifics, one for each of you, starting with Kelv. From a player's point of view, a few people said to me about player of the month, manager of the month, media attention on us in a positive way, Kelv. And it might have changed the mindsets and taken players out of that underdog mentality that we've had. Do you buy into that or not from experience? Is there anything in that?
I think it depends on the character of the players as well, to be fair. I'm not going to name players, but yeah, I know players that have got player of the month or man of the match one week, and they think the world beat us. They think they should, be here, there and everywhere and earning this amount of money. I'm not saying that's the case for Chris Wood at all. We don't seem that kind of guy. He's a well-experienced guy, but it can be. But I don't think that was the case with any of the players on Sunday. I just think that Newcastle were good. They had one of their best games of the season, I think. And Forest just couldn't get into their stride, and that's only because the way Newcastle set up. And like Temp said, the press was brilliant. There was just no outlet. We couldn't turn them. We couldn't play it down the sides because Chris Wood isn't that type of player. He's not going to run in behind. So we're trying to pass it out. And we're just playing into their hands. But no, I don't think for the player of the month and things like this and all the press that we've been getting because we're third in the table, I don't think that should really affect you. I think if anything, it should fuel you to, I want to stay here. We enjoy this. We enjoy being one of the top teams and being talked about in this sense, not you're terrible and you shouldn't be in this league. It's the opposite this season. So I think it would only fuel the players. So I don't buy into that with this set of players or with the performance on Sunday. No.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the bigger factor for me, Mikey, was, it was they were better first half than us, but not by a huge margin. But second half, they really turned it on, and I kind of wonder if Newcastle, I think I said this last night, a bit of a barometer of what we want to be with, a strong midfield, decent back four. They've got Isak, who's an X factor, but it feels like are they maybe one step or two steps ahead of us on the ladder, and that's where we're working towards.
I'd say at least if you think about the amount of investment that's gone into that team, just look at the centre forward. Look at Joe Linton that they bought as a striker as well, and now they've converted him into midfielder. How much did they pay for Anthony Gordon? 40, 50 million, was it? They've got England's second keeper. They've got both England fullbacks, or they will be if they're not already. They've got a great team. Bruno, they're talking about him going for a lot of money. They're a fantastic team, and they proved it yesterday, second half. I was worried at half time because it reminded me of the game that they played at Wolves, if anybody watched that. They were 1-0 down at half time at Wolves, but you always thought they'd raise it and come back, and they did, and they won 2-1. And the same thing happened, unfortunately, yesterday for us. So I just think let's not. Who didn't say this? Let's not get too elated when we win, too down when we lose. I just think we have to recognise the progression that this club's made over the last 3 years, and specifically over the last 6 months, and not beat ourselves up when a team like Newcastle, funded by a state and with a load of incredible players, turn it on, because that's what's going to happen in this league. And you're going to get halves or even games of football where you just can't get a grip and you can't get a foothold. And that's what happened yesterday. If you said to me in a couple of years' time, we'll be really, really competing with them in terms of the players that we have, in terms of the expectancy, again, it would show me that we're continuing on this trajectory. But yeah, Newcastle are top 6, absolutely, like, without a shadow of a doubt. They're the best team I've seen this season. I really rate their coach and respect their coach. I'd have tried to get him for England personally, but there you go. And I think they'll be there or thereabouts. So let's not beat ourselves up about it, but they're a good team. We should aspire to do what they did in the second half. And it's just all part of our evolution. And one more thing I will say quickly is I've been a bit of a critic of Nuno's interviews in the past, but I really like what he said this week after the game. He said something along the lines of, thank you to everyone, thank you to the fans, you respect the players' effort. We just have to learn from it. What can we learn from it? And he's talking about everything, I think, from his own performance to the staff, to the team, to the shape, to the makeup, to the subs, to the opposition we're playing against. And I think that's a really good characteristic and thought process to have, that when you get a setback, let's not kick ourselves. Let's not get down in the dumps. Let's just think, what can we do better next time? What did they do? When we come up against a team like this again, what can we do differently? Do we get that extra midfielder on? Do we go to a back five? Do we not chase the game? All these little things, and I think we just have to learn from it. But in general, let's like I said, let's not get too down. They're a great team, Matt. Newcastle, really good.
Yeah, he spoke well. He spoke from the position of a manager whose team's in very good form, which I think helps. You can say a lot more than in post-match interviews, but he did speak well. Just a quick word for the Trent navigation before we go into the goals for both sides. Then, like I say, it's a happy hour, 4th of December in the Man City game. 30% off all draft beers, £3 cask ales, and pizzas £8.50 during the game. And one other thing, if you are looking for a bit of casual work over Christmas, they are hiring. I will drop the email that you need to go to into the description, and I'll put a background on this advert next time, because I meant to do that but totally forgot and promised Tom at the Nav that I would do this. But if you're looking for some casual Christmas work, then get in touch with the Nav. Right, let's go through the goals then, starting with our goal. Kelv, the quality of the delivery is great. Just talk about, I'll ask Temps about that as well, but in terms of centre half and the movement from Murillo and the header, was there anything special there, or was it just the quality of the delivery from Elanga that made the goal?
Yeah, I just think the quality from the delivery, the pace on it, all Murillo had to do was just get it on target. The pace was there. As soon as that ball hits your head at that pace, as long as you direct it somewhere, it's going to go that way, So he didn't have to use any neck muscles or anything to direct it into a certain direction. So yeah, the pace on the ball was great. It was flat. It was at good pace. If anything, you criticise Isaac, is it? I think it was him. He dropped off and he left that space there for Murillo to head the ball in. So, but yeah, it was a great delivery, great header. Yeah, so I don't think there's, without any, not being disrespectful, there was no special skill to it. It was just a great ball. Good run from Murillo, and he's connected with the header. Yeah, so the pace was on the ball. To be fair, with the free kick, I thought I can see why Isaac dropped, because I don't know how he's got it so straight with a side foot. I thought he was going to kind of like bend it outwards, but it was a great technique from Elanga, and it's just a fantastic delivery. So flat, so with great pace on it, and he's just directed it into the floor. He's edited it down, which is his strikers get told to do. So he's a centre half and done that, and it's gone in. So yeah, just delivery, definitely great ball.
Is Elanga confounding us a little bit, Temps, this season? From when he arrived, I had him down as, a direct runner, hit the byline. More times than not, his crosses might be a bit erratic. And now we see this season, he's a bit more considered. He feels like he'll work for the team, but he isn't as explosive. Yet his set-piece delivery is just like next level suddenly. What have you made of him overall?
When we first signed him, I had him down as pace merchant, chalk on your boots, and just getting at his fullback. Then we saw the goals and assists, didn't we? He had a bit of a purple patch last season where he looked real good. Now I see a really technical footballer. I think his delivery is consistently excellent. He's played Champions League football. And I know that one of the things that the coach at Forest used to say to him is our mission for you is to get you back in the Champions League, whether that's here or through a move. He's got so much in him. His dad was a pro, wasn't he? His dad was a pro footballer, so clearly had a good grounding. But yeah, there's a lot to his game. I think he's going to keep James Ward-Prowse out the side, which is a bizarre thing to say given they play different positions. But one of Ward-Prowse's X factors is set-piece delivery, and Elanga hasn't put a foot wrong in that department since he was given that responsibility. But yeah, what a ball! Getting that up and down from that distance is really difficult. And the lane that opened up for Murillo was ridiculous at this level, and it was basically a tap in a sense. And he called out Danilo's celebration, which was a nice nod to his mate. I think Anthony Elanga, we get a bit frustrated when he doesn't use that weapon, because we know he's fast and any fullback he's going to face. I think we do get a little bit frustrated when we don't just see him try and gas his fullback early on. Particularly, I think Livramento was on a yellow pretty early in that game. So. Slightly disappointed in that sense, but I think we have seen other facets to him this year which make him extremely worthy of being in the side. I just want to see him use that elite attribute, that pace, time after time after time, almost be boring, in cricket sense, like a fast bowler trying to hit the top of off. I want to see him going around the outside of his fullback at every given opportunity, because Kel's played a little bit of right back, and there's just nothing you can do when that lad you're marking is faster than you, other than foul him, basically. And a yellow card early doors is a dangerous place to be.
It's so frustrating when you play with players that are lightning quick and they don't use it. It's so frustrating, because you just think you've trained against them all week and they do it to you in training, and you think, geez, if you do it on a Saturday, no one's going to catch you. And they don't do it. And it's the most frustrating thing as a teammate. I've played with players. I think the quickest player I've ever played with is Nathan Tyson. And we used to just always say to him, you don't have to control, just knock it and run. You're that quick, they won't catch you. And I don't think they realise how quick they are sometimes. I think they want to do other things. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. If he just got into his head a little bit more, just knock it and run. You don't have to be fancy all the time. He'll go past 9 out of 10 fullbacks, especially on yellow cards. He'll get so many players booked and sent off.
I remember thinking of Nathan. While you were saying that, I was thinking of a story Nathan said about when he was a youth player at Reading, and he did some step overs on the touchline, and his youth coach pulled him over and said, "Why are you doing that?" He said, "Oh, I need a trick to beat a fullback." And he got the ball. I remember this. And this coach, he leathered it down the touchline and said, "That's your trick. Run after it, and that's all you need to do." I'm sure
he's the quickest guy I've ever seen. He could have been a sprinter. He was so quick.
Yeah, look, and neither of those players would be a Carby, are they? It's not enough just to be a pace merchant. You do need a little bit about you. But those boys had it.
But Langer's, he's got that bit about him, Temps. He's got that like you say, on set pieces and to cross the ball, he's definitely got that. So, if he mixed it up, not all the time knock it down the line, but 9 out of 10, if he did it, he's got the final delivery as well. He's got a great cross, and he can score goals as well.
Yeah, I think so. We are 25 minutes in, 300 plus people and I haven't once said like and subscribe. So thank you very much to Rev D for doing that. Do hit like if you haven't already. It makes that big difference in spreading the word. On to their equaliser then, Kel. We've done so well defending set pieces. There was a couple of things I noted. Bruno blocks the keeper and he can't come. And then we don't win the first contact. Is it those two things that have cost us, or I missed something about how we've conceded that goal?
No, I think the first contact's always important. I think anyone knows that in football. First contact's especially when you're defending a set piece. Get first contact on it and get it out of the area. Obviously, we didn't get that. The block on the goalkeeper, as a player, I wouldn't moan about that. That would have been brutal. They would have done that. That would have been a part of their plan. I think we probably do it at times where you put someone to block the keeper. So I wouldn't moan at that. You wouldn't have expected him to come and got that anyway. Just the first contact, yeah. I think if you don't get the first contact, then obviously, which is an obvious, that you get the second contact. But sadly, it's coming though. You could sense something was coming from Newcastle. The chances they were creating, and I think once that went in, that just gives Newcastle another 10%, and they obviously then showed what they went on to do.
I'll stay with you, Kel. We'll get the pro and us, then I'll go to Mikey. Just on the second goal, then. They break on us for about the 20th time in the match at that point. Do we back off too much from Joel Linton? Moreno feels like he backs off Miles, and then Elanga kind of runs across, and it almost opens a lane for Joel Linton. And then I guess there's nothing Sells can do there. There's not a keeper in the world's going to save that, is there?
No, yeah, I agree with you. Again, I think I said it at the start of the show. It just got really stretched. The game did. It got really stretched. I think, when you got someone like Joel Linton on the ball, you would drop off, but someone needs to engage him, especially when he's in that position. And then the finish, yeah, it was a great finish. But I just think that's just stemmed from them breaking on us. Like you said, Matt, it was a number of times it happened. And I honestly think it's because the game got so stretched. It got so stretched, especially in midfield. And we've already said as well that, I've already said that I think Newcastle's best position is their midfield. So for it to get stretched and then to play through there, and then obviously you've got the likes of Bruno and Joe Linton and Gordon and then Isaac as well. Isaac, sorry. It's only so many chances that you can give them before they're just going to start taking them.
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing that we do seem to do when we are trailing under Nuno, Mikey, which hasn't happened a lot this season. It does feel like we get a bit ragged. Like Elanga goes inside. We throw more wingers on. It feels like it's... I admire the aggression to get back into the game, but we do seem to take a lot of control out of it, and Newcastle exploited that so well, didn't they?
Yeah, and to be fair, it hasn't happened that much. I think we've not been behind at all. I think it's second best before yesterday in terms of the minutes that we've been behind. So, but yeah, if you look at what's happened when we did go behind, so Fulham, for example, that was quite ragged, wasn't it? Pretty much from start to finish. I think we started with, we get to right, I think no wingers, ended up with about 4 or 5 on the pitch. So I don't know what happened there. And yesterday it felt very similar. I really concur with what the lads are saying. They're absolutely spot on. Elanga, for me, when he's out wide, can cause the most danger and has the most threat, and he's the quickest player on the pitch. So I never understand it when he comes inside, because you need to have wing mirrors on, don't you? You need to go left, right, up, down, where, on the wing, it's quite straightforward. I understand we bought Jota on, we bought Sosa on, so it probably meant that was a necessity, but I probably would have taken him off. But don't negate your best asset. So for me, it became stretch. We didn't have enough players in midfield. They kept breaking time and time again. Yeah, it was quite ragged. And I'm hopeful it's just almost like a one-off or a two-off after the Fulham game, and we don't always get like that. But we almost need to work out who we are when we're chasing a game, because we're really good when we, in general, go one up and we sit back and we go to a 5, or we can then break because teams are coming on. But when we're chasing, perhaps we need to learn and to have a look at how we can break teams down rather than just turning it into a basketball game. But yeah, it was a little bit messy, but like I said before, not taken away from Newcastle. They exploited us. They were excellent. And when you bring in players on like Harvey Barnes and players like that, you're going to cause us problems. For the second goal, by the way, my dog barked when Joe Linton got the ball, so she knew what was coming. Honestly, sixth sense. And it did feel like it was coming. Kel's right. Like both those goals felt like it was coming, and then that last 15, 20 minutes was just a bit crazy. And it just felt a little bit unstructured, not really what we're about. Let's hope we can sort of dust ourselves down and go again after the international break.
Yeah, I think so. As Steve said, we did have the problems as well. Like chance creation was the other big issue as well. Is that going to show? There it is. What's happened there? Bear with me. Yeah, sorry. We didn't create enough. We had that one shot from Nico second half. I can't even remember the Yates header, Steve. Sorry. So, yeah, it was pretty limited on that front. Third goal for them then, Cal. I mean, a few fingers pointed at Sells. What was your read on that? Could he have done better or not?
Yeah, maybe. I just think once Barnes gets you in the box, you can't touch him, and if he's got the power, it's going to be. I know people moan at. I would, if I was a defender, I'd probably turn around and scream at the goalkeeper and say it's near post or whatever, get something on it. But no, I just feel then we were definitely chasing the game. It was wide open, like Mike said. I think that, like I say, once someone like Barnes gets you in the box, it's very hard to make a tackle. You're just got to try and get that block in. And when it's going through legs as well, it's took a slight deflection. It's hard I think it's harsh if people having a go at the goalkeeper. I really do. Yeah,
I agree. I thought, it went through two sets of legs. It looks worse than it was. I thought he was fine.
When it's slowed down and people watch it on TV, you think, oh yeah, I should have got it. But when it's at match pace, it's completely different.
Yeah, I think so. Any other thoughts on the game, Tem? So I do want to speak about the ref quickly, but any other thoughts on the game in general before we speak about Anthony Taylor?
Yeah, well, look, first goal, for me, it wasn't a block on Sells. It was a two-handed push. And I think my moan is VAR checks the wrong thing. It spends a minute looking for a handball, which was never there. And you don't even get to the angle where our goalkeeper has been chucked on the floor. Should he be a bit stronger against Bruno? Yeah, maybe. But it's a two-handed shove. And I think if VAR reviews that, the goal's chalked out. And that was our way to win the game. We were under the cosh and we were going to defend a 1-0 lead. That was the manner in which we were to get 3 points from that game. And that obviously started a chain of events. So if I'm going to have a bit of a whinge, it's that. Credit to Joe Linton. I think under Steve Bruce, it wouldn't be unfair to call him a donkey of a striker. He was goal shy. He didn't find his form. They persevered with him for a long time. And how he stayed at the club for as long as he did, I don't know. He just seemed transformed under Eddie Howe. He can play in different positions. He's good on the ball. He's strong. He's organised, very efficient. And I thought he was the outstanding player on the pitch yesterday. Really impressive, and took that goal extremely well. So no grumble about that. And as the boys said, when we're chasing the game, Hail Mary, they catches on the break, and Harvey Barnes finishes quite tidily. Through the legs is a tough one for the keeper. I think if Cal's going to moan at his goalie there, he needs to keep his legs closed before he turns around and gives his keeper a bit of a volley. But no, the only other thing I've got to say is probably about Yates, unfortunately. But I'm sure you're going to get onto that now.
I think I am. It's about Anthony Taylor, who had the spotlight on him a lot. Mikey, you sent some WhatsApp pictures. I hate still photos because they can be made to look a lot worse than they are necessarily. They didn't necessarily look particularly good for Ryan Yates, though. Did we get away with it a little bit with that elbow on Livramento or not?
Everything looks bad, slowed down or still, though, doesn't it? Like even the softest thing. It didn't look great, though, to be honest. I think players, Kelvin's obviously primed to say this, but players, I think, just kind of feel for where each other are, don't they? They have a little lot to feel. It didn't look great, that elbow. I don't think it was deliberate. I might be told I'm wrong from a player's point of view. It was a bit cheeky. I thought the studs on the thigh one was more clumsy rather than cynical. But he could have easily, I think, got booked for both, which then obviously means sending off. He walks that line, doesn't he? He walks that thin line each game. Yeah, you see, and you're going to get times where people look at it and go, "Oh, you were lucky to get away with that one." Can I just say one more thing just on the game quickly, Matt? I obviously didn't go. I watched it, but Lindsay went, and she said that coming out the ground, a lot of Newcastle fans were talking amongst themselves, saying, "We've done really well to come here and get 3 points." Like they were genuinely, wow, can't believe it. So I think we are now hopefully seen as a team where it's really tough to come. I know we were scrapping for our lives those first couple of seasons, but if away fans are coming out the ground saying, "Blimey, we've done well to turn that round," hopefully now teams are now thinking it's a very tough place to come because the level of player has improved as well. So I don't think it was a case of they expected to come here and beat us. And obviously, when they 1-0 down at half time, they probably would have accepted a point. But it is what it is. Kelv, do you agree? Do you think it was a bit? Do you think he got away with one or two, Yatesy?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's his game, isn't it? That's one of the reasons. Not to elbow people. I'm not saying that's his game, but I mean, he's there to ruffle up feathers, and he's not your ball player. He's not going to create your goals. That's his role. But yeah, I definitely think he got away with a few, because I think if it was done on him, he would have made a massive deal of it, rolling around on the floor and stuff like that. So he's got away with it. He has got away with them. But yeah, like I say, that's Yates' game. Like, he's there to get on players' nerves, to wind them up. Yeah, it's the wrong way to do it, throwing elbows. I've never been a fan of that or anything like that. I think it's a bit of a coward's way. But no, yeah, he got away with it. We got away with one for once. So yeah, I'll take that. He's got to learn from that though, because if he gets caught with that, he's off the pitch, and we're not a team that can play with 10 men and win games. So I'm sure Nuno will have a word with him and just say, be careful with that.
Yeah, I think it's because he had a little look, which made it look worse. Yeah. I don't think he smashed him with his elbow, but his arm was up, so it was a bit more marginal. I mean, the counter argument, I guess, is Dan Burn, Kelv, he got booked. People saying he should have got a second one for the foul on Jota. Anything in that or not?
Again, yeah, maybe so. Especially with being at a City ground, you'd hope so, wouldn't you, that the ref might send him off. But I'm not saying that, yeah, he should have got sent off. It was one of them ones. If he did, you wouldn't be surprised, but he hasn't, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I think for me, Temps, like Anthony Taylor wasn't really a factor in the game, which was the thing I was looking for. We can't pin the result on Anthony Taylor, can we?
I think he tried to be lenient throughout, didn't he? And if he'd have set his tone early doors with a yellow card, there could have been 10 in the game, from the Gibbs White on the counter beating his man, Alanga sliding it past after that corner run, got clobbered, yellow cards. Yatesy, extremely lucky. I think that the line you've got to draw, because aggression is a big part of his game, and he's very effective at it. He's normally very good at those niggly ones where he just stops you playing centre mid, but manages not to make it look like absolute filth. The line is, don't risk the red card. If he gets sent off first half, you're in a world of pain. You've caused harm, not good. And that's not being hard. Being hard is, as Kelv said, firm tackle, shoulder in a duel, putting your body at risk, doing what you need to do. Not catching someone with an elbow, be it accidental or otherwise. But he gets away with it, so he knows he's got a yellow card in his pocket, and he goes a bit high, doesn't he, with the second one? So just needs to check it a bit. Yates has been a revelation this season. I think he's been truly excellent, and the physicality and the ruffling of feathers is being talked about, isn't it? Both by opposition players and the Twitter sphere, who get very angry with Ryan Yates during games, but just curtail it a bit, controlled aggression, get back to your game, and Yates will have a big impact this season. But he was a bit lucky to come out scot-free yesterday after those two first half incidents.
We're a long way from the Arsenal game, Kelv, and we'll discuss it at length for the next 2 weeks intermittently, I'm sure. But while I've got you here, would you keep that Yates and Dominguez pairing in midfield? Would you look to bring Ward-Prowse in? I know it's quite game dependent. Maybe you take a winger out and play all three, but are you still liking that Yates and Dominguez pair for what they bring?
Yeah, I think so far with what they've done. Like Temps just said, Yates has been brilliant this season. He's definitely upped his game from last season, put it that way. He's been he's one of the first names on the team sheet in my eyes in what he's been doing. So yeah, I'd keep it the same. I think if anything, you're playing against Arsenal, so do you bring another midfield in and compact it in the middle? But then obviously their threats are from the wing. Saka if he's fit, and Martinelli or whoever, Trossard, whoever they may play. So it'll be a tough one for Nuno. But I don't know if you bring, like I say, compact it in the midfield or you keep it as it is. But I think it's going to be obviously a lot more defensive at the end of Arsenal. So the players that he's going to pick will be more defensive. Whether he sacrificed Gibbs White or someone like that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, one we'll pick up on, I'm sure, in the next couple of days. Well, also, after the international break, we know who's fit and who's not. I mean, Arsenal are missing a couple of key men potentially in Rice and Saka, but conversation for another day. Thanks very much to Global Telemetrics for sponsoring us as normal. Appreciate their backing. We advertise them every Monday. Link for them is in the description. Keyless thefts can be prevented with Faraday bags. Had to Google that. That's a bag where you put your keys in and it prevents the signal, so people can't nick your keys in that sense. Turn off keyless entry on your car. And Global Telemetrics no tag start tracking devices will stop keyless thefts from happening. The majority of thefts are stolen from customers' home and addresses without the need of keys in 2 minutes. These Global Telemetrics ads are always so uplifting on a Monday, aren't they? But thank you for their backing. Right, let's round up. Just any other final thoughts just about where we're at, really, taking stock. I suppose, Mikey, we went into this bracket of 4 games, Palace, Leicester, West Ham, Newcastle. I think Temp said the minimum was 7 points, which was probably about right. We've got 9. We can't. I guess we can't really grumble, even if we're disappointed with Newcastle, can we?
No, not at all. So what I'm looking at on my phone is played 11, won 5, drawn 4, lost 2. If there's anyone on the chat or listen to this that wouldn't have taken that a couple of months ago, please let me know, because it's been a great start to the season. We're all disappointed as to what happened yesterday. Of course we are. And we'll have 2 weeks to stew on it to come back. And there are some tough fixtures ahead. But like I keep saying, I've seen enough to know this team will be all right. And we will turn a lot of teams over at the City Ground. And we're still unbeaten away. Granted, the next 3 away games are Arsenal and both Manchester clubs. Slightly difficult, that one. So if we come out the back of that still unbeaten, I'll be wearing Christmas jumpers in February and March, honestly, because it'll be insane. But we're doing all right. We're doing better than all right. So let's not get down, everybody. Tough day yesterday. Really good team. We'll bounce back, and I'm sure we'll have a good Christmas. There are some tough games, but there are some games where I think there might be some special nights over the Christmas period. We've got Tottenham. We've got Ipswich coming up. We've got Villa. We turned them over last season. So let's just keep the faith, everybody. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, upcoming fixtures, I'll throw them at you, Temps, and then ask how you're feeling about them. Arsenal away after the break, Ipswich at home, City away, United away, Villa at home, Brentford away, Spurs at home. Takes us up to Christmas. Any revising of expectations? Any kind of rough hope of what we get there? How are you feeling now after Sunday?
Well, look, we beat Ipswich, don't we? We're a better side in better form, in far better shape than Man United. Man City and Arsenal are shots to nothing. So if we were to come out with 6 points from those 4 games, fantastic. 4 or 5 points is probably the par return, if we're being brutally honest with ourselves. And I think that's it. Look, we've punched above our weight. We've pulled off results which no one expected us to get. There's a belief in the squad. There's a tactical plan. And yesterday aside, we've been playing the best football we've seen in 22, 23 years. So I think we do have a new target now. It's a top 10 finish in the Premier League, and that would be an outstanding return. And I look at the sides that could be resurgent, and I look at the sides that are rooted in that bottom 6. I think it's eminently possible. But I think talk of top 5, a top 5 finish is fanciful. Of course, we should enjoy what we've just been through, the run that we've just had. But it gets real tough now, relative bites, when you're facing 3 of the so-called big 6 in 4 games. And Ipswich are no mugs. I think they've shown a bit of fight, haven't they? So we'll win that game. I'm confident of that, but we won't have it all our own way, and it perhaps won't be quite the walkover that we thought. So for me, the expectation is 10th. That's a revision to where I was at the start of the season. I think that's down to Nuno's coaching, the tactical nous, the depth of the squad, and the manner in which the boys are playing. But make no mistake, this is a tough run of fixtures. And if we're to get any more than 4 or 5 points from it, that'll be another upset in terms of where Forest are in the Premier League, and something that I'll personally celebrate.
I think a few weeks ago, Kelvin, you said you thought we could finish top half. Is that still your expectation then, as we take stock after 11 games?
Yeah, definitely. I think we can finish in the top half. 10th, like Temps has just said, is realistic. I still think it'll be 12th, 13th, something like that. But if they finish 10th, I wouldn't be surprised. And, we're more than capable of doing that. reading them games out that you've just said we've got, I think, like Temp said, Ipswich, yep, I agree. I think take 3 points there, but the rest that's the Premier League for you. You just think, wow, we obviously can win the games, but nothing's guaranteed. Even Ipswich, I know we say we're very confident, but still, it's the Premier League. Ipswich have been okay in some games, but they're a bit like Luton last year, I think. Ipswich are, so yeah, I think top half finish. Temp would not surprise me at all. It's realistic. So yeah, I'm with Temps.
Yeah, I was just looking at the fixtures. I mean, if we get a point a game from the next 5 and then get 4 against Brentford and Spurs, I think that's really good. And that's I think that's 10 points from 8 games, something like that. It's tough. It's a tough run, certainly. So yeah, but I'm still very confident. Just one other thing, Kelv. We've all sat here quite rightly, I think, saying we'll bounce back, we'll be fine. Let's not be too down. When the players come in today or tomorrow for training, is that the right attitude, or is that sort of giving yourself a free pass for a bad performance and they should actually be quite annoyed at themselves for how they played yesterday? What should the mood be in the camp, do you think?
Yeah, obviously, I don't know Nuno as personally like that, but, managers, especially after the run they've been on, I'm sure they'll do the video today, or if they're off today, they might do it tomorrow when they're back in, analyse the game, see where they go wrong. And then after that, it's usually right. That's put to bed now. Move on to the next one. You've been brilliant all season. It's just breathing that confidence back into the players, just reminding them what they've done so far. So it wouldn't get you down, not at all. I think some players, especially I'd have been playing, and then a performance like that, it might frustrate them a little bit. But no, I don't think from one result like that at all, it's gonna get the players down. And and I think fans make a massive difference. And they'll walk around the city and go around the city and get praised everywhere they go, without doing the players will. And it does mean a lot, a lot of players, when it's going wrong, say we don't listen to the fans, we don't read media. They do. You do. It's impossible not to, so they do. And it does help. And that's not me just saying that to try and get the fans. It really, really does help. And when you say about the 12th man in grounds, again, it helps massively. So players will hear that and it will breed confidence into them. So I don't think yesterday's game is going to affect the team at all. I think the run-in over Christmas, that does affect how your rest of your season goes, because it did me many a times, and the teams that I've played in, when you're doing well and you're flying, you kick on, and when it's a game after game and you're not getting your results, especially over Christmas, there's so many games so close to each other. So I think it's a really, really important time coming up, though, period, and hopefully we can chalk off the games and pick up points on the way.
Hopefully so. That's a good point. Right. Any other business? Anything you want to add before we depart? Michael Temple.
No, nothing to add, mate. I'm off to swim with dolphins. I'll see you later, lads.
Very good. I'm not doing that today. Mikey Clarke, anything you want to add before we go?
No, I'm not swimming with dolphins either. Just a quick shout out to Greg and Emily. If anybody watched Match of the Day 2 yesterday, you might have it on your list, actually, Matt. They were on nice little segment, Tails as well, who comes on here, a good mate of ours. I thought that was really good. It's a pity the game that followed, but the segment was really good. And the only other thing I have to say really is kind of more of what we've been saying during this podcast is it's all about accumulation of points. That's what it's all about. So we didn't get any yesterday. We were outplayed by a better team, but we'll get more. And we'll be absolutely fine. So let's not get too down about it. And those run of fixtures, hey, look, we're better when we play better teams anyway, usually, aren't we? I mean, we've been away to Liverpool, Chelsea, Brighton, putting in good performances, turn West Ham over at home. We'll win some of them games. And Christmas, going back to what Kelvin was saying, if you cast your mind back to last year, we had a half-decent Christmas. We went to St James's Park, I think, Boxing Day, beat them, turned Man United over here. So there's lots to look forward to, and I've still got utter faith in this team and manager.
You've got to have utter faith in Christmas, haven't you, when you're sporting 30
exactly.
Christmas hampers?
You've got to stick with the brand.
Exactly. Anything from you, Kel, before we go?
No, listen, we've lost the game. Who thought we was going to go through the whole season without losing a game? It was going to happen. And we're going to lose a few more. So, don't get down about it. Players won't, So, yeah, as long as we stick together, especially that I can't say how much fans make a difference, to players' confidence, to especially stadiums. And when you're playing against that noise as well, it's not nice. That's why obviously playing at home is always an advantage. So yeah, let's just stick with it. I think Nuno's got everything right so far. Every time we lose or don't get a result, obviously people are going to question certain things. But yeah, I think we're in good hands with Nuno, and I think we'll be fine.
Agreed. The only things I was going to add, Mikey referenced Greg and Emily already, doing a great job on Match of the Day too. Greg was billed as from Forest Focus, which was great. Emily was billed as Nottingham Forest fan, which was not so great, but still good for them. They did a great job. And Paul Taylor of The Athletic is on Wednesday as our guest. I think he's on with Pete, and then we'll have stuff on Forest Women on Thursday and a special audio version of the podcast that's been produced for us about fan experience. Someone very kindly volunteered to do that. A Reds fan called Duncan Barber, who's a professional and knows what he's doing. So it will be better than whatever I normally do. So yes, thank you very much for that. One other thing. Ruby Naylor was on yesterday, wanted to plug Garibaldi Girls, but forgot to. So I'll drop the link in the description for that if you want to join, or pass the link on to anyone, a new fan group for women. I think that's just about everything. Thanks very much for everyone's company. And you were smirking away there, Temps. Did you want to add anything or not?
No, mate. I'm just laughing at various WhatsApp groups that I'm in. Sorry, man. I should have given you my full attention.
Pay attention to the back of the class. There we go. Right. If you've enjoyed this, do us a favor, hit like, hit subscribe. You can become a channel member and give us a love review, iTunes and Spotify. I do read them all, and Patreon is coming. Right. We shall go. Temps, thank you very much. Go swim with dolphins.
Cheers, fellas. See you soon.
Mikey, thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Enjoyed that. Keep the faith.
Kelv, swimming with dolphins this afternoon?
I wish. Make sure you got your sun cream on, Temps.
Yeah, I'm a peeler, mate.
Good advice. Right, have a good afternoon, everyone. If we don't see you on Wednesday, we shall see you soon.